Okay, welcome back to the War Room. I'm here with Karsten again, diving into some more midweek motorsports. It's been a fat minute. I wish it didn't take this long to get back into it. Your homeboy had to go on a business trip to Atlanta for a whole week, and then Karsten over here had to graduate. How dare you, sir?
I didn't mean to have it happen then, but it wasn't really up to me when it took place. So at least it was the same week you had something going on too.
Yeah. So, congrats to you once again. But we are back, and this episode is gonna be on Supercross, mainly because we were gonna do an F1 episode as well, but we just found out that the uh, Imola Grand Prix for this weekend got canceled because the flood, pretty much. They are like neck deep in water over there, so. I don't see why you just couldn't have thrown intermediate tires on. I think it would have got the job done, but they're saying it's a safety hazard, blah, 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 blah. But but it's all good. In 2 weeks, the Supercross title got just absolutely flipped on its head.
I can't believe it, dude. I thought for sure I was sitting there watching. I was like, dude, like, what's the point in even having these last couple rounds? Eli's going to win it out. Cooper's going to come a little bit close. And, Chase is probably going to fall a couple times. And boy, was I wrong, man. I mean,
we were both wrong.
Well, like, obviously, okay. Well, we can get into it, but like we had the Cooper situation first, and then Eli. Cooper situation happened. I'm rooting for Eli. That's my boy. And we're going through. I'm watching qualifying, and I'm like, okay, yeah, Eli's looking good. He's going to come out swinging. This is going to be great. Home race. Like the last episode, I was like, okay, Colorado, that race is an obvious win for him. And as long as he can make it through that, he's good. I mean, dude, freaking lands slightly wrong. And here we are. Chase is in the lead, breaks the curse.
Bro, if there's, and we'll have to dive into this particular subject later, but if there's one thing you would say to sum up this season is it's not Supercross anymore, it's Death Cross. I think with factory riders in both divisions for 450 and 250, we had 19 injuries that caused the riders to miss races. But just to kind of let's just bring back the tears again. Which for me as a Chase Sexton fan, mainly because Malcolm Stewart got hurt, but as a Chase Sexton fan and a Honda fan, it kind of worked in my favor. But at the same time, like when you have a three-way title fight, my main thing I was rooting for was I want this to go down to the last race like it did in 2006. We talked about the parallels with this in 2006 between Ricky Carmichael, Chad Reed, and James Stewart. If you guys haven't seen that episode, go give it a listen. The parallels between that championship and this up until 2 weeks ago were ridiculously similar. Like it was insane. But we go into Nashville, daytime race. Cooper was 11 points off of Eli Tomac, and we've got 3 races to go total. And then on top of that, Sexton is 21 points behind because he was 19 points off, and then he lost 2 points because of the mud race where he got taken out by Barsha, fell down a spot or 2. And so on top of that, okay, we're at that point, we're like, okay, even if Chase wins out, and if Eli gets second every single race, he's got it wrapped up. There's nothing he can do. And the only person that could really go head to head and like win out and make it a thing is Cooper Webb. And on the opening lap of the Nashville heat race, we didn't even make it to the main.
No,
and Cooper Webb was going. Honestly, I thought we were about to see the best heat race of all season, like even better than when Malcolm Stewart won in Anaheim too.
It was setting up great.
At the heat too.
The way that they were coming into that first corner, Cooper usually doesn't have a lot of intensity at the beginning of the race.
I know. He was like trying to send a message or something.
Yeah. Well, didn't work.
He comes out of he roughed up Eli Tomac a little bit going into turn 2 into a 180. And of course, right after that 180, they're going into a whoop section. So he's got about a half bike to a bike's length lead, but it's a KTM going through the whoops. So Eli's going to catch up with him. And Eli had the inside. So Cooper had to take the high line and just kind of wash the front end a little bit. And, when you wash the front end, there's really not much you can do. If you wash the back end out, if you've got your legs in the right position and you've got, you're strong enough in the core and everything, you've got a shot at reeling that bike back in. We talked about this with Sexton, right? The problem with Sexton and that Honda is that Honda has a really flexible front end, and he's been losing that bike. I think half the reasons he lost that bike and fell down so much is that front end flexes and it loads itself up really easily and then it just dumps you off. In this case, it was just a fact that Cooper had to take a really high line, and Tomac didn't make contact with him, but he got within inches of him. And maybe, I don't know if Cooper just got a little frightened or something, and that's what kind of caused him to turn over, or if it was the dirt, or I think it may be most likely a combination of everything. But either way, he kind of just fell over, and it really wasn't a violent impact. And he, for a half second, he was immediately darting back up. And before you could even get his head all the way off the ground, Cianciarulo was right behind him. And keep in mind, this is lap one's not even complete. This is fresh out of the gate. Everyone's bunched up.
Yep.
People were getting mad at Adam Cianciarulo. He had nowhere to go. And by the time he recognized where it was, he tried to pull it a little bit to the left, just didn't have enough time to pull all the way over. And his front tire just goes right over Cooper Webb's head, knocks him straight into the ground, gives him when we watched the replay in real time, it was probably one of the worst head impacts I've ever seen. And he's out for the race and the rest of the season with I don't know what kind of grade concussion, but they confirmed it was a concussion.
It was up there for sure. I mean, for him to pull out of the rest of the season, obviously he wants to keep competing. After that, without finishing that race, he's probably not in the championship anymore. Even if, I don't think he feasibly had a shot after that race of winning the championship. But for and he's a competitor. He wants to finish out. He doesn't want to quit. So if he could have, I think he would have. And so it had to have been bad enough that he's like, you know what, let's just finish where we're at. Because, I mean, we got the Super Motocross situation going on now. So there is still, I guess, what is it like? There's a Supercross champion, a Motocross champion, and then a Super Motocross champion. So
correct. And to automatically qualify, you have to be in the top 18 as far as the overall between both series points, and or
you can win a race and get in, right?
Yeah, if you win a race, you get in. So you either have to, it's kind of like the NASCAR playoff in a way. It's like they'll take a top 18, but if you win one race, you're automatically qualified in.
Now, do you know much about how the playoff situation works?
That I know not. I know that the top 18 are locks for the series, right? And then they're going to do an LCQ race for anyone else whatever the qualifying parameters for that are. To actually make the actual playoffs. So they'll still do an LCQ. So for people like Malcolm Stewart and Dylan Ferrandis and maybe Marvin Muscan, if he comes back, which I don't know if that's going to happen, if they can get back in the last couple races of motocross and get some good finishes, maybe they can at least qualify for the LCQ, because they'll if they can get a couple good top 10 finishes on a factory bike, they can put themselves in points contention to be the last couple guys in the LCQ. And if you make it to the LCQ, and you're on a factory bike, you got a decent shot. But we'll have to do another episode talking about because they still haven't made it, they have it online, but you got to hunt for it on what exactly it takes to make the Super Motocross World Championship. But in regards to Cooper Webb, it sucked to see him go down like that, because he was not only was that heat race looking Cooper Webb is bringing a different gear today. We haven't seen him race with that intensity in a couple of races. He was also the best chance of someone being able to take this championship all the way to Salt Lake City.
Yeah. So he was still, like you said, he was close behind, so he had a chance for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're only 11 points off, and what I talked about in the last episode with Cooper Webb, he's so identical to Chad Reed in his mentality of, I don't care what you do, I'm going to be there. So it's up to you whether you're going to win or lose this championship. If you make a mistake, it's mine. Now, that's like I said, that's also not to say that he can't go beat people to do it, but he is a giant stick in the mud for people that are really talented but make mistakes. He's
a bit of a lurker.
Exactly. Just like Chad Reed was for James Stewart. He's very competitive. He's going to be that thorn in your side that forces you to push yourself. But also, if you push yourself too far and pay the price, he's going to be there to just got it.
Yeah. He'll clean it up
So
for sure.
yeah, so it sucked to see him go down because that race was looking really, really good. I was like, if they're going this hard in the main event, I mean, sorry, in the heat race, we're going to have an amazing main event, and we got robbed of that. And then so we lost Cooper Webb. Sexton ended up winning the race in Nashville, which was another turning point for him because that's another 20-minute main event that he got a huge lead after he passed Tomac, had a big gap and held it, no mistakes. Very impressive.
That
Props
was a
to
tough
him.
one too. Wasn't
That
Nashville a day race?
Yeah, and that track was claiming souls. I think it took
Yeah.
Jason Anderson down. It took Justin Barsha out. Or maybe was it Colorado that took Barsha out? No. Yeah. Nashville took out Cooper Webb, Jason Anderson, and Justin Barsha, I believe, all on
Yeah.
the same day.
Because these
Which
last
sucked.
3 rounds, we've had guys getting into the main event and not just getting in, but like getting up in the top 5 on the podium that usually are maybe, I wouldn't say LCQ guys, but they're like outside of the top 10.
I mean, if you like, no disrespect to Josh, to like this guy in particular, but if you got Josh Cartwright at one point running in the top 12, you've got some
Yeah.
injuries.
Well, and we
That
had
dude,
who was it? Was it
Justin Hill.
Justin Hill.
Yeah, getting the podium.
In the podium, which I mean, nothing against him. He's a good rider and everything, but 450 class, it's rare that a privateer is even in the top 5.
Exactly. And he got a top 5 the week before, but yeah, so basically Nashville took 3 more factory riders out of the last 3 races. We go to Colorado and honestly I was kind of like, oh man, Chase needs like Eli to like have like an off night like he did in Tampa and like just randomly be like, nope, something's wrong. I'm just going to finish 8th so I don't blow it. Something like that. Like that, I wasn't, I was pulling for Chase to at least close the gap. But if he got first and Tomac got second, it's not going to do anything. He was like 19 points behind or something like that at that point, going in the second to last race. But I was like, okay, let's just see what happens. At the very least, if Tomac will probably just go easy, and I think he had to finish like 12th or higher to lock in the championship.
He could have a bad night
and still win that night.
Yeah.
They had the trophy ready to go. And I was like, yeah, okay. He's earned it. It's almost wraps. Like, unless something terrible happens. And lo and behold, lap 1, Eli Tomac over jumps.
In qualifying.
Well, no. It was in it was in the main event.
No, it was?
Yeah, it was in the main event. Lap 1. Because I think he lost the heat race to Sexton, but was leading it to start. I think.
I'm thinking of that other crash. I'm thinking of the.
It was in Nashville. It was Nashville.
Yeah, when his hand came off and he fell out of into that corner.
Yes. Yeah, and that was weird itself. I was worried about him at that, but yeah, lap 1 of Colorado, his home race, which sucks because there were so many Tomac fans there to see him. Over jumps coming out of the first lap, out of the whole shot. I think it was maybe 4th or 5th turn coming out of that into a rhythm section, just slightly over jumped a rhythm section, came down on the beginning of the next jump, and I honestly thought his bike broke when I first saw it, the way he was riding. And then he stuck his leg out, and I was like, that's kind of weird. And ended up rupturing his Achilles, and that was the end of his season, which then just basically just made, like, with Sexton winning that race, it made him the championship elect because Tomac and Cooper are both done. The closest person behind them is Ken Roczen, and he was 34 or 44 points behind. So Sexton could have literally showed up in street clothes and won the championship. So like literally like just like that, everything got thrown on his heels, and it absolutely sucked to see Tomac go out like that. And to kind of break it down just a little bit, I don't want to dig into not the crash, but the Achilles rupture in general. From the research I've done, Tomac really likes to ride with the balls of his feet on the foot pegs. So you're already having your foot be a lot easier to rotate when you're sitting there. It's not necessarily too common to do that. It's kind of more just his style. So what it comes down to is when you ride on the balls of your feet, you kind of put more stress on your ankle to begin with. And then you combine that with the fact that Achilles ruptures are the most common injury for athletes over 30 or at 30. Um, it was kind of just one of those crazy coincidences, dude. Like it sucked to see. But I'm hoping that's not the last we see of Tomac. But that being said, like I want to see what your thoughts are on Tomac's future. I mean, he's staring down. He's going to be out for the remainder of this year. He won't be able to come back for even Super Motocross Championship. He's looking at the earliest being ready for Supercross 2024, and that's a if because we're in May right now, and you really need 9 months to a year for an Achilles. And even if you come back at the 9-month mark, it's not going to feel the same. It just takes time, especially with something as intricate as Supercross and a guy like Eli Tomac who loves to shift the bike a lot. That's one of the things he credits himself on is he will shift a lot more than other people do. He works. He's in and out of those foot pegs a lot. Do you think we see Tomac again? Do you think he comes back for 24 with a grid that has a lot more young talent in it? You got a ready to go Chase Sexton guy. He's got his confidence. He ended up putting it all together. The demons are gone at least for now. You're going to have a really young talent in Jet Lawrence. You're still going to have a lot of the same players. You're still probably going to have Webb. Still probably going to have Jason Anderson in play. You could have other guys. Hunter. You could have who?
Could have Hunter too.
Yeah, I mean, goes. Well, they're talking like Hunter for 450 Supercross is a done deal, which I don't know how it's going to work, but they're talking about that. We'll get into that at the end because I do want to cover some of the silly season per se, for Supercross. But do you think that's the last we see of Tomac, or do you think he comes back?
I don't think that he's coming back. Unfortunately, I think it's kind of the perfect storm of it makes sense for him to retire now. That being said, I would give it a 15% chance he comes back, just because an injury that, like you were saying, like it's 9 months to recover. That's probably 9 months for him to be able to do normal human life, not one of the most traumatic sports on the body. So I don't know. I would be shocked if he comes back. Like you were saying, we got all these young guys coming in, so the field is getting even more stacked. Obviously, something we'll talk about in a little bit later, but we've got a new manufacturer coming in, so that's opening, room for more guys to be on factory bikes. So it's really competitive. It's not like he could come in and it's not. I mean, you could look at his season and look at how many wins he had versus everybody else and say that he dominated, but like he kind of didn't. Like like Cooper and Chase were there the whole time. Barsha's getting better. Roxon's getting better. Finally figuring out that Suzuki bike. So, I mean, it's like I said, it's not like he was out there. Like he had to work this season. Mm-hmm. So if he's not 100%, I don't see it happening. Unfortunately,
it sucks. Which I hate hearing. I hope he comes back, but it's like, okay, I don't want that to be the last time we see him raced, because that's very bitter for such a great career. And people are like, well, he's only 30. And it's like, okay, but and they're like, oh, but Barsha's 30, 31 and just signed a 2-year extension. Malcolm Stewart is 30 or 31, just signed a 2-year extension. But the difference is Eli's been doing this since he was 16 as far as at the pro level. He's got a lot more miles on him than someone like Malcolm or Barsha.
Yeah. I don't know. And this is all speculation. Like he could very well be, sitting there. I mean, he's probably going through surgeries right now. Like who knows what he's actually doing.
He got, well, what's weird is like, okay, if you look at like what we've seen from the days following the injury, it's almost like he's already like, it's almost like he's committed in his brain to go ahead and start back on the path to getting there. because
That's the same
he got the surgery done the Sunday after he heard it. Like I think maybe he gave himself 24 hours before he went in the operating room.
See, that's
And then posted a video saying he's on the road to recovery, yada yada yada. And I'm like, okay, maybe like I don't want to speculate, but maybe he either hasn't made his mind up yet, but he wants to go ahead and get it done and train like he will come back, so he has that option. Because if you wait too long, then it'll just be out of the picture. You won't be ready for Anaheim
yeah.
one. But
I
I
mean,
don't
he's
know.
a
I mean,
competitor.
you're looking at 7 months to be ready
Yeah,
for Anaheim one. I don't think it's going to happen. I think what could happen is he does kind of like what Ricky Carmichael did in 07, where for his last year he kind of just does a limited run and just does like 5 or 6 races, and like it's the big ones, like do
I could see that.
you do Anaheim one, you do the finale Salt Lake City, you do Daytona,
Do Denver.
do definitely do in Denver, so that's
Yeah,
4 right there. You pick
yeah,
2 others of your favorites and then do those.
yeah, and then maybe a
And
little bit of outdoor.
yeah, he could do outdoor too if he wants to. Maybe he sticks
Yeah,
around for SMX because if he wins a race, which could happen,
yeah,
qualifies for that. You never know, but yeah,
and
either
maybe
way,
do, what is the World Supercross? Isn't that like wasn't it like 3 or 4 rounds or something? It was pretty short this year. I don't know if they're going to change it next year.
yeah.
Um,
This upcoming season, World Supercross, which will collide with the schedule of U.S. Outdoors Motocross.
oh, interesting. So
It'll be 6 races in Europe.
okay,
Uh,
so we won't be ready for that yet, but maybe the following 25, I could
yeah,
see.
if he wanted to, but it's kind of like if you're gonna do something during that time period, you may as well do outdoors because like World Supercross just isn't as big
That's
as the
true.
domestic series here.
Yeah,
It's something they're trying to build up. That's why they signed Ken Roxon to it last year, and he became their first champion.
right.
I think that's the first. I think last year was the first time they did World
There
Supercross.
was
I
some
could be
good
wrong on that.
guys in it, though. I think Tomac was in it, wasn't he? He was out there, I think, for at least one round. The first one, maybe?
He may have done 1 round, but I know he dedicated. I mean, he did the outdoor series last year for
Yeah.
motocross, so
And I
that
know
was
they're
his
kind of
priority.
making they're like making rocks and kind of their guy with that whole thing.
Well, I mean, he is from Germany, so it's like if you want to have a poster boy for a European Supercross series, that's your guy.
He's a
You know,
cultural fellow for
which
sure.
yeah, we'll dig into this later, but it's weird. Like even Colt Nichols is going and doing that, and there's someone else that is doing it as well.
Yeah.
But anywho, yeah. So Tomac going down, kind of literally handed the championship to Sexton. All he had to do was win that race in Colorado,
Yeah.
and he had it wrapped. And I'm very as a Chase Sexton and Honda fan. I mean, Honda literally won all 3 titles this year, which I was like, wow. I mean,
Dude,
you
incredible.
you have to keep in mind that like Chase Sexton did the unthinkable. He broke what they called the Carmichael curse, which was the last time that Honda won a premier class title was 20 years ago with Ricky Carmichael in like '02 or something. I forget how far back it goes, but and that was back when the premier class was still 250s with 2 strokes and not 454 strokes. So like since Ricky Carmichael with Honda, they have not won a premier class title. And
2003.
Chase Sexton came
So,
in with Honda. He said, "I'm going to win you guys a title." He's
mhm.
quoted on record many times saying that for his Honda team, and it's funny because this is probably the last year he's going to be on a Honda. And like I said, we'll get into silly season later. And I mean, heck, he had to have some luck, but he
Yeah.
got it done. And I don't want to hear any talk about people saying that he's not a deserving champion because there's 17 rounds for a reason. And as
Mhm.
we've seen with so many key players like, Malcolm Stewart, Plessinger, Jason Anderson, Justin Barsha, now Cooper and Eli, all it takes is one bad day for you to go down and it's over,
Yeah.
right? You miss one race and you're out of the championship almost, There's been
I
very few
mean,
people that can have a DNF and come back.
yeah. I got 2 things to say about that. First, because I've thought about this, because it's
Mm,
like the situation where you want as a competitor, you would want to win when the opponent is at their best so that nobody can come and say, "Oh, you only won because of whatever," right?
mm,
But if you first look at what Chase Sexton did, I mean, he very well could have thrown in the towel mid to 3/4 of the way through this season because it just wasn't happening for him. I mean,
yeah,
every single race, he was
terrible luck
yeah,
and
I mean,
mistakes.
horrible, horrible. Now, not as bad as Tomac and Cooper had there at the end with no, I'm not gonna say career ending, but season ending injuries, right?
Yeah,
And so for him to stay in it and still come out every single weekend and be like, no, I'm still gonna, because nobody wants to go out and compete for third whenever they know they have the talent to be competing for first place.
Yeah, and that was a tough thing for him. Is like every time he crashed, he was either fighting for the lead or was in the lead with like a 20-second gap.
Yeah.
This whole season was just Chase Sexton getting his demons out.
Yeah.
Even when he started, and he really didn't even come into the championship picture, even though he had the expectations because he took Tomac to the last round in motocross last year. So everyone put the pressure on Chase of, hey, you're going to be our guy to challenge Tomac, right?
Yeah.
But he, his first 2 rounds, I think he finished top 5 in both, but really didn't come into the championship picture until he won the Triple Crown in round 3 or round 4, whichever was. I think it was Anaheim 2. We did a Triple Crown, and it really wasn't until that then we were going into Houston like, hey, like if Chase wins Houston, he's red plate, and he came that close to beating him in Houston. And it really, all of a sudden he goes to Tampa and Cooper Webb puts the pressure on him, and he doesn't change his line in the whoops, and front end washes out on him. Nothing he can do. And all of a sudden, like for the next 9 races at least, he's got these demons where he's, so many races where he's in the lead and something happens, either terrible luck or he makes a mistake or both. Like I said, with how quirky and temperamental the front end of that Honda is, it really, I don't think you could say it's one or the other. It's really a mix of the both, because the front of that bike was unpredictable. There was no other bike losing the front end in the whoops or even just in braking bumps, like what happened in Detroit. Or not Detroit, Indianapolis, I think what it was. Yeah. I think it was Indianapolis or Detroit. No, one of the two. I can't remember. It was the one that Ken Roczen ended up winning. And on top of that, he's also made some mistakes. Like, he was on the outside looking in of going, running for the top 2 in Daytona, but he made a mistake and then almost got passed by Barcia. So, but the thing, what he did is he just kept his head down and kept fighting. And as we and every time he took some hard hits, dude. And I think this is also a sign of when we look at Cooper and Eli, not saying they're not amazing athletes, but you look at their builds and they're more classic from 10 years ago builds that we're used to seeing as far as Supercross and motocross riders. And then you look at people like Chase Sexton and Jet Lawrence, and Chase Sexton is built like a freaking tight end. Dude is yoked. He's got ridiculously broad shoulders and a wide football neck. Jet Lawrence is very, very similar, just a little bit skinnier. But I think we're starting to see with some of these young talents an evolution that may have been a long time coming in what the build of current Supercross and motocross riders that are the next generation needs to be with how the sport's evolving. Because you go back 20 years ago, right? Ricky Carmichael was the first guy to put all of the riding ability and talent and combine it with an off-season and in-season training program with workouts both in the gym, like lifting weights and doing core exercises, and with actual programmed track workouts. And then James Stewart, who was another guy who took a ridiculous amount of talent and then combined that with the same thing, did it with Alden Baker, the guy who's now got, he's got to deal with all the Austrian guys. He's training all of them. He's training Aaron Plessinger, Malcolm Stewart, RJ Hampshire, basically half of the KTM and Husqvarna riders. The reason he's got so many guys that come to his camp is because
he's good.
He pioneered the whole thing with James Stewart, and I think he even went back with Carmichael. So I think this is when we look at Chase Sexton and Jet Lawrence and some of these other young up and coming guys that are starting to be built ridiculously good athletes. Not that the older generations were not. I mean, you look at James Stewart, that was one of the best athletes we've ever seen to swing a leg over the bike. And till the day I die, I will tell everyone that he was the baddest man to swing a leg over the bike. No questions asked. If he was on, no one was beating him. But what we're seeing now is I think we're starting to see an evolution in what current Supercross and motocross riders bodies have to be like. I think the standard's been risen because Chase Sexton took way more falls and hard hits than both of those two did. Now, obviously, with Cooper Webb with the head, that's a different thing. Head's a different thing.
Yeah, but, I mean, you kind of can't, you can be as jacked as you want. I don't think that getting run over with a dirt bike is gonna,
not especially on the noggin, not gonna do anything. But Well, we've seen other guys like Barsha and Anderson and some other guys take a lot of hard falls, and it takes them out for a race or something like that. And Sexton literally got yeeted in a 360 off of his bike in Detroit or Indianapolis, and suited, hopped back on and still finished like fourth or something like that. And he's still racing the next weekend. I mean, he's had so many tough falls that like look like, oh, he could be out.
I
And
think
he's very durable.
I haven't done this, but I bet if you went through and you took the average time that a guy takes from when they hit the ground to when they're back on the bike riding, I bet Chase Sexton has one of the lowest. I mean,
100%.
he hits the ground. I'm watching. I'm like, damn, that looked bad.
Mm-hmm.
Back up going. Oftentimes loses maybe one position. Actually, he always loses one position.
Minimum.
But it's a pretty crucial one, typically, first place.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, for him to be able to do that and still come back every race and compete at the highest level and not because he was what was he like? First place qualifier for
I don't know how many races he got.
Race except for I think 2 or 3.
Yeah, I mean, there was so many times he got fastest qualifiers. It was ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
this whole season that we talked about was Chase is without a doubt the fastest on almost every given night. And the only other person that can match his speed is Tomac. And and that's a big if.
Which not even really, because Tomac was really only winning because Chase was falling. So it kind of just all added up there to the end. And
with the exception of, to give Tomac credit, with the exception of Houston, because at Houston they were both head up.
Yeah.
Now, granted, Houston was a hard track to pass on.
Yeah.
But still with raw speed, like Chase got within 1 second, and then Tomac pulled away and put a 3-second gap on him.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, what just happened?
Yeah. No, so and wasn't that the one where Sexton came through and absolutely waxed him in the heat race too?
Yeah, I think he got the fastest lap in the qualifying sessions by like a half second. It was like, okay, this is about to be a blowout.
Yeah.
So,
anywho, I mean, you can't really take anything away from Chase on the championship.
You've got to be there all 17 rounds.
You got to be there, and
Or in Tomac's case, he at least got to be there all 16.
Right.
Because he almost had that thing wrapped.
Yeah. And so, staying healthy, that's part of winning. Like, that's part of it. You can't just, take that out. Like, there was at the beginning of the season, what was it? Was it the first race in Houston where Deegan got fourth? And there was, 3 guys that fell right there at the end or something. So he passed
the LCQ. Oh, no. Yeah, right. Yeah. I think Jeremy Martin went down, and then two other guys went down.
Yeah. And so he, on the last lap, he was passing a couple guys that went down. And so there was some people that were saying, oh, he got, he should have been more like 6th or 7th or whatever. He got handed those spots in the end. But, staying on the bike is part of the race. He didn't fall off. Why should he, you don't look at these guys that fell off and go, oh, well, he was fast enough to beat. No.
Yeah.
It's industry.
Well, and the other thing is, with the mistakes, right, with Sexton, you still can't make the argument that even if, okay, it's not like you only won one race. It's not like this is like Barsha, coming, who's won one race, and then if he was gifted the championship because everyone knocked themselves out with 4 races to go, and he's just,
that would be crazy.
That would be okay, you got it, you hung around, but you obviously weren't anywhere near the fastest guy. That would be a different conversation. But in this case, with Chase, you're looking at a guy who was there all 17 rounds, was always fighting for the win, whether he yeeted himself off the bike or not. But the dude won 6 races, which is one less than Tomac. I think Tomac won 7 races. And
6 races? I'm gonna check that.
I think it was 7, maybe 8 races that he won this year. I could be wrong, but I think Tomac won 7 to 8. But Chase won 6. It's you can't tell me that a guy who won 6 races is not deserving to be in the hunt for the championship and win it.
Chase won 3 races.
No, he won 6.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but he
won. I'll name him. So off the top of my head, I know he won Detroit. 1 second here. I got the
Wait, are
tweet.
you
I got
talking heat
receipts.
races too or mains?
No. We're talking main events.
All right.
Give me
Let's
a
see.
minute. I got receipts. I
I
know
see.
I know I retweeted this. Come on, Twitter, help me out. Okay. He won Anaheim 2, Detroit, Atlanta, Nashville, Denver, and Salt Lake City. Bang.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
He has 8 heat wins.
Well, I have some bad sources.
Well, keep in mind, it was Anaheim 2, and let's see. Was there any more Triple Crowns?
Okay. All right.
No. Yeah.
It says 6 wins. It's 6.
Yeah.
Sure.
Anaheim 2 is the only Triple Crown of those.
Yeah.
So,
well, how about it? There you go.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm just not going to hear any conversations
No.
if Sexton doesn't deserve it. It's just, and I think it's
Sexton
classless for people
wins
who argue that.
very deservingly. Obviously, some things had to go his way at the end. They did.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be there. I mean, you can't. I mean, if you take that argument back like a couple years, I mean, like almost every championship that James Stewart didn't get, you can make the argument, well, the other person didn't deserve it because Stewart got hurt or he crashed or something. It's like, okay, how far back are you going to take this? You can take it infinitely far back.
Yeah, and you could do it in every single sport. Like it applies everywhere. But again, that's part of the game.
You've got to be there.
Yeah, showing up,
especially in this intensive of a sport of a motorsport in general, where like,
yeah,
you know, you could be fine one day and then you could be like Malcolm Stewart and in a practice crash tear every ligament in your knee except your PCL, which I didn't even know PCL was a ligament. So, anywho, all right, I'm gonna get off my soapbox about the Sexton ship. The Sexton ship has finally set sail. We're in full steam, looking to get a 450 outdoor title. Let's see what happens.
He's in the history books now, though.
Yeah, and I think now he's got confidence, and I think he's really dangerous.
Yeah,
really dangerous. But yeah, so happy for him. Super sad that we didn't have this thing all the way down to the last race, especially with Cooper and Eli. Hopefully we get Eli back. But let's transition into, well, first let's go into silly season a little bit, and then let's kind of preview what the motocross season that starts in just 2 weeks. We only have to go 1 week without dirt bikes on a track. So let's go into silly season, then we'll go into the motocross preview. So in regards to silly season, we kind of talked about this on the last episode regarding Supercross, but what I keep hearing from all of my sources like Vital MX and Swamp Moto and stuff like that is that like Chase Sexton to KTM is like a done deal. So
really, like
what
I'm getting solid, huh?
Done. Now what I've heard is he signed the deal back in the fall, which really ticked off Honda. So it's kind of funny that like,
wait, he signed a deal back in the fall. They're saying
it's not official, but that's what reports are saying, that he's already the contract's already signed.
Wow, that's interesting.
So we're still waiting for an official announcement, but like the guys on Vital MX are talking about this like it's like, yeah, no, it's done. Like it's been done, it's done. But like I still haven't seen an official post about it. So like we'll hold our breath, but we should probably be talking like it's a done deal from what I'm hearing on multiple sources. So it seems, and it's really weird to me that like Sexton would go. Now obviously if he did sign this in the fall, it makes sense because he was really complaining about he's quoted as saying the Honda bike doesn't even feel like a Honda. So that he was getting fed up with dealing with the Honda. I mean, keep in mind, this was a bike that last year Ken Roczen, who rode for Honda for a fat minute and got really close to championships on this bike, he quit halfway through the season on that Honda bike because he just couldn't stand it anymore, and he thought he was going to hurt himself because that bike was so unpredictable.
Yeah,
yeah. So, like on one hand, after last season, I get Chase wanting to walk away, even if it meant that he signed a contract before Supercross. But if he signed the deal before this season, it makes sense. If he signed it midway through, kind of makes sense. If he just signed it, I'm like, okay, dude, hold on a minute. Maybe you could wait till after outdoors, see how bad it is or how good it is.
So now he's going to be in outdoors on the Honda, right?
Correct. Yeah, okay. Correct. And his current contract goes all the way through 2023. So he would be doing super motocross on it and everything. So
okay. So all of these are through the summer. This is all going to be changes for coming into Anaheim 1 next year.
Correct. And
Okay.
what could also happen from what I'm also hearing is like obviously if you're Cooper Webb and you got this new young talent who's now a champion, well, it's like, well, I don't want to be outside the spotlight with this dude. And Tomac could retire. So what I'm
Yeah,
hearing is Cooper used to race with Yamaha, so he's going to go to Yamaha, take Eli's seat, or if Eli still stays, Ferrandis could be gone because Ferrandis could retire after this motocross season. So
I keep
that could
forgetting
happen.
this even exists since he's been out since so far back. I mean,
Well, with how he races in Supercross, sometimes you forget he exists until motocross comes back around because he's such a
right.
he's an outdoor champion. So like, um, it's weird. So and then on top of that, even if Cooper stays, the flip side of that is well, Marvin Musquin could retire, so he could get a seat that way.
Right.
Um, so that's kind of something we're going to have to monitor. Along with that, with the Honda stuff, what I'm hearing is it's almost it's becoming more probable than not. There's still mixed sources on it, but it's more probable than not that Hunter Lawrence will ride 450 Supercross next year,
That would
and
make sense. We
he'll
got
do the 250 outdoor, but
yeah.
he'll do 450 Supercross next year, which I guess kind of makes sense.
Now, how does I don't know if you know, but how does it work with Jet's points since he's moving like with the whole super motocross thing? Is he now forfeiting his ability to be? Is he just saying screw it? We're not going to worry with the whole, ultimate champion thing this year and just
Dude,
up or
there's so much. I'm really excited for the super motocross thing because I looked at the tracks and especially the finale at the Coliseum in Los Angeles. The track just looks amazing.
oh, that's gonna be so sick.
Like it even goes outside the stadium and like where that little those arches are. It goes between those. Yeah,
Yeah,
and they really designed the tracks to kind of be almost like very similar to what the speedway tracks are, where it's like it's a supercross track, but you've got stretches of it that work like an outdoors track.
dude, I'm all about that. I
Yeah,
love whenever they do that at the Coliseum because
it's gonna be weird though because like they've done like with as much good as that has come with it. Like that's part of the reason they got the Peacock deal is because they got a bunch of new sponsors that allow them to get that Peacock deal, which is now for $5 a month I can watch Supercross on a reliable platform, which I used to get it on NBC for free. But hey, I still for $5 a month I get that and I get motocross on an actually good platform instead of that stupid like Max TV or whatever it was that you paid $12.99 a month, or whatever it was.
yeah,
I
no,
get it on
lifetime.
I get them both on Peacock now, and then I can also get IndyCar. I think you can get even
Golf.
some of the golf, some of the endurance racing. It's a good package.
Yeah.
But anywho, and you get Super Motocross in the fall. But
Not
the one thing
but
yeah.
y'all should get it. It's
But the one thing they haven't done a good job at is like explaining how this whole thing works. Like we've known about it. We've known about it for almost 8 months now, 6, 7, 8 months. And I still can't tell you, even as like a diehard Supercross fan, like exactly how the qualification stuff works. All I know is that it's considered playoffs. It's 3 rounds. They have a point system to make the top 18 and not have to go to the LCQ. Or it's either you automatically qualify for the LCQ if you want to race. Anyway, I'm gonna have to spend a week kind of doing some deep dives. I'll have to isolate myself, do like the Aaron Rodgers black room or dark room or whatever, and maybe when I come out, I'll go to a what's it called? Not a hypnotist, but the people that like read your mind or whatever. What's it called? I don't know, mind read or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I'll be able to tell you how you qualify for the Super Motocross. So
We'll give a
I'll take care of
tutorial.
that.
Yeah, a how to know who's winning session. And we'll let y'all know once we get some updates on exactly how it works. I honestly I don't like whenever sports leagues in general do this, where they try and make something new, and I feel like they make it complex for the sense of complexity.
Yeah,
And it's like some of these new like the fan controlled football thing. You seen that?
that was cool. That was cool when it dropped in 2020 and there was nothing else going on. And
Right.
I
That
was
made it good. Yeah.
it worked. It worked really well in 2020, but after that, it kind of flamed out because you had
Yeah.
XFL come back, USFL.
Right. There's a little bit too much going on with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like don't try and reinvent the wheel here. Okay, we got a good thing going. Let's just see some football players who didn't make it in the pros try and come back. Maybe some college players didn't get drafted, and let's have a good time.
Yeah. With the super motocross thing, they're kind of mimicking, although with less complexity, I think, in my opinion, they're kind of mimicking what NASCAR did with their playoff system.
Yeah, I think if they can just explain it pretty good, then we'll be fine. And once we get into it and start watching the races, see how things break down, I think it'll make a lot of sense.
Yeah, they just have done a terrible job of like educating and advertising as far as how the actual qualification system works for it. But anyway, we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
So the other big move, as
So
far
we
as
got
early season that I know about is with yeah. So to recap, we got Chase Sexton going to KTM.
let's go manufacturer at a time. Okay, we got
Honda. So Honda.
Everybody's. It's all.
Yeah. So Sexton goes to KTM. Jet is already moving up to 450s for this outdoor season. That's about to begin in 2 weeks. Hunter Lawrence
contract is up.
Yes, he had a Supercross only contract, but he got an extension to do World Supercross. So
but not motocross.
Yeah, well, it's right now it's an either or because they overlap by 2 weeks. So you can't compete for one and do the other without like sacrificing. So it's like kind of you just do one or the other.
Yeah. Okay. So that's where Jet's getting a spot because Chase is still going to be riding.
Correct. Yeah. So and then along with that, Hunter Lawrence will go for now. It's seeming like he's going to go to 450 Supercross in 2024.
So that'll be Honda's guys.
And then this is the latest thing I've heard that is considered a done deal from some of the Vital MX guys and other podcasts I listen to and read on the Twitterverse. Is Joe Shimoda is going to leave Kawasaki and go to Honda for 250s.
Really?
Which I think could be. I mean, it could be good because the Honda 250s have been amazing, like rock solid, like really really fast, and like
results would say so,
and not bucking their guys off the bike like a Bronco.
Yeah.
Because at first I was like, well, with how much trouble Chase has had on that Honda 450, like, Joe Shimoda's main problem is just keeping the bike on two wheels. He's got all the speed in the world. He just can't stop crashing. But with the Honda 250 though, they haven't had that problem.
No, I don't know how much of a tell this is, but if you look at what the privateers are riding, 250 class, the privateers are mainly riding Hondas, and 450 class, the privateers are mainly riding Kawasaki's. Now, 450 class, I'm not sure. Obviously, we had some injuries, Jason Anderson, probation, blah, blah, blah. There's some logistics going on there that could be playing into why it's not working as well. But that, to me, says that should be the best bike out there because the privateer guys ideally can just kind of go to the showroom and say, what's my favorite color? Which bike feels the best to me? And if they are all picking Cowies in the 450, I would think that's because it's the bike.
Well, I mean, look at AJ Cadranza. I'm not saying the last name right.
Canzaro?
Yeah, Catanzaro. That's the way you say it. Yeah. He did this whole challenge. Like he's been in the sport a while. He does his own motocross training school or something like that. Yeah. He's a really cool dude. Awesome YouTube channel to follow. But he did this whole thing this season where he was going to run a bike pretty much like 99% stock. And what bike did he pick? He picked the 250 CRF for Honda. So, and he made main events with that thing, running it basically stock. Like it's as close to dead stock as you could. So
I think he had suspension, a little bit of suspension stuff done, but I mean, it's kind of, you got to do that. You can't run stock suspension in Supercross.
Yeah. That's probably exactly what it was. I mean, you never know, but maybe a different set of forks. I don't even know, but, and he, stock Honda with AJ made main events. So, I mean, anyway, I think that could be a good move for Joe Shimoda, mainly because the Kawasaki 250 team is like just cursed. Like everyone on their 250 team got hurt.
It's really not meant to be. Yeah.
They need like a priest on their practice track at all times.
Yeah. I mean, Chris
Like,
Blow's made it through.
yeah, that dude's a zombie though.
He
Like,
was the only guy though
yeah, and but they brought him in
to
from
fill.
racing arena cross because someone got hurt. I,
Right.
it's to the point that I can't remember which of the 4 guys that went down with a 6-week or more injury. I can't remember who he replaced. It could have been Austin. It was probably Austin Faulkner because he was
The whole
out after
team.
A1.
The answer is the whole team.
Yeah, I mean, heck, I'm wondering if Mitch is gonna break a leg walking on the track sometime, just supervising his guys. I mean, they need to move locations. They need a priest at every practice, and they need to overhaul. But
I don't know if you saw this video, but what's his name? Oh man, Ronnie Mack. He went and tried to go to he went to the pro circuit offices and tried to go and be a backup rider for him. And he made a little movie about it. It was hilarious. He didn't get the deal.
Bro, you got to send me that. You got to send me that. But in regards to other silly season moves, I'm very happy about this. For Husqvarna, RJ Hampshire got a 2-year extension, and then 6 weeks later, announced last week, Malcolm Stewart gets a 2-year extension, which I was praying for because you never want to get a season-ending injury early in the season when it's a contract year.
Yeah.
Now, granted, like from Husqvarna's position, it's like, okay, you got a guy with Malcolm that beat multiple former champions in the 2022 season and got you 3rd overall. Like he got like 5 podiums or something like that, or more than that, maybe even 7 podiums. Was running like average finish was like 4th or 5th or something. Like he had a great 2022 season. So I think he more than earned the right to at least get a 1-year deal. But when I heard he got a 2-year deal, I was like, oh, bless. Like, because there's the only thing worse than getting hurt in a contract year is only getting 1 year after a really bad injury to get back up to speed and prove you still belong on the bike.
Yeah, that definitely gives him a sort of a build year and then potential championship contending year, or maybe first year out. I mean, who knows, man?
Dude, all I want, like, on my list of things that not need, but like want, desire, is Malcolm Stewart to win a 450 main event. Like when that happens, like I'm going to be calling everybody and we're going to have a massive barbecue and maybe buy fireworks.
I think it's a great idea. And we should go fishing.
It's going to happen.
We need to go fishing after too.
We do. I mean, hey, we got the pond right outside my house. I mean, we're good.
It's perfect.
I mean, we could even go like varmint hunting afterwards too. I mean, we got plenty of possums and stuff running around.
I'm ready to rip some lips, baby.
Yeah. So we're going to set off fireworks while we do it too. So like the whole neighborhood will know that Malcolm Stewart won. I mean, well, they won't know that Malcolm Stewart won a 450 main, but they'll know something happened.
Something happened. Yeah.
Will the cops get called? Probably. We'll discuss it later. Anywho, that's all I want. And I think if he can get that done next season, that's his main thing is can you beat this little thorn in your side that's been there for the last like 4 or 5 years of get your first 450 main event win.
Yeah.
So then that was cool. I think RJ getting that 2-year contract is really, really good because, I think next year he finally, for the first time in his career, is like a front runner to be a 250 champion. And he's been this guy for the last 2 years. Really, he's had this expectations going into the last 2 seasons. Like, oh, RJ should be, a title contender, and it's like, well, he could, but if you look at his results and like, it's like, okay, I mean, going, he won his first race in Triple Crown format, I think, last year, and that was his first race he ever won. But yet he was talked about as a title favorite going into last year. And then this year, the same deal when he only won 1 race. And you've got the Lawrence brothers. And you've got, Shimoda. You've got Faulkner. You've got McAdoo. You've got, you got so many talent. Obviously, not all those guys are in this division. But you've got so many talent. Jordan Smith, Jeremy Martin. Like a lot of talent.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah. So with RJ, I think finally – especially after he got another win this season. I think he got 2 wins, or was it just 1? I can't remember.
No, I think he just got the 1, but then I mean, he got something that nobody else in the 250 class got.
which was
450 heat win.
that's right, which was insane, and he got
That's
a
pretty
top 10
badass.
finish in that.
At
Yeah, it was.
Daytona.
Yeah, I mean that was a statement right there. I mean,
I
there's
mean,
some guy,
that's insane.
all the 250 guys always be like, "Oh, trust me, I'm better on a 450. I'm better on a 450," and then they actually like get a 450 shot, and it
It's
ain't
like,
that
all
way.
right,
But with
hush your
RJ, it was like, "Oh, you are better. You are
yeah,
better on the bigger bike."
which is exciting. I mean, and that's not to say he's not. I mean, he's good on the 250 though too. Like he's
Oh
good,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
I think that. I mean, dude, those freaking Lawrence brothers are just really, really good.
And
And
the problem with RJ, the one thing I felt like we got robbed of, well, many things I felt like we got robbed of this season with like
yeah.
Death Cross and everything. But
Do you own anything anymore, or have you gotten everything stolen from you? Because it seems like it's just gone. All your stuff's gone. You just
well, I mean, the only thing that I have left is the being a Chase Sexton fan who now has his first championship.
he
That's
has a
it.
championship, so that makes it all better.
But I had to lose about 80% of my mental sanity to get there. So I mean, like,
Right.
hey, but to quote from Shrek,
Okay.
that is a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
Okay.
But
Oh, that's
but
funny.
yeah, with RJ, I felt like there was so many times it's like we had to wait so long to get like an actual battle with RJ between anyone in the top three. It was like
Yeah.
anytime that like he and Jet were running together, he made a mistake or just something crazy happened. Um,
Yeah, no, he
and I
definitely
really
was
wanted to see him and Jet go toe to toe because like RJ
yeah,
had the speed to at least be there. Maybe
yeah.
not beat
He
him,
was
but be
trending
there.
he was trending up towards the end for sure. I mean, towards the end there, I mean, he was riding really well and
Mhm.
the obviously Jet was still getting out and pulling a gap sometimes, but it took longer for him to get up there and do it, and it wasn't as big of a gap. And so I
100%.
think RJ was getting better, and he was more consistently like he's the number 2 guy. So
Yeah. So
yeah,
I'm happy for him to get that 2-year deal. It will be interesting for in regards to Husqvarna to see how Christian Craig plays out next year because he's got a 2-year deal and he's one down. So next year's a contract year for him, and
yeah,
you've got RJ sitting behind, and it's not that Christian Craig had a bad year. It's just I feel like how much he dominated in the 250s the year before, and with his age, they expect, and with also the fact that he rode 450s before he got that really bad back injury for
yeah,
I don't think a full season, but enough to where he rode enough 450 main events to where just by pure points and considering this is his first full season in the 450s, he should be rookie of the year. But because the AMA said he raced too many 450 main events prior to this season, so that he couldn't qualify for it. So they're giving it to Colt Nichols, which
so
I'm
he was
okay with.
technically a rookie. Is that what it is?
They say he's technically not a rookie.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and he raced 450 outdoors last season, and he was great. Like he was a top 5 guy. He was up there. Like he was
Oh,
doing
I
really
forgot
well.
about that.
Yeah, he
I
was already
completely forgot
well.
about that. Yeah.
So
So
he was on a
it's
Yamaha.
whatever.
He's on a different bike
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah.
There's growing pains.
Yeah. But it's just going to
You
be
know.
interesting because he had a lot of hype behind him, and
Yeah.
he's a guy that so many times was like, okay, dude, you're battling the Hill brothers in 10th. We need you in the
Yeah.
top 7,
Yeah.
especially when you have like Marvin Muskin and Malcolm out. You got to be in the top 7 minimum.
I mean,
But I think he'll
when-
figure it out. He's very
yeah,
talented.
I think so. And yeah, it's going to be interesting since he's obviously injured now. How that's it looks like he's making a pretty quick recovery. His is it's not the same as something that Tomac's got going on. He's got a bone injury, which is a much
Yeah,
quicker deal than
broken elbow and hip dislocation. So I
yeah,
may, if we're lucky, I think we'll see him in the back half of outdoors this summer,
I'd say so.
maybe.
Yeah,
And
that was,
if we're really lucky, we may see Malcolm for like the last 2 or 3 races of outdoors if we're really lucky. Because I really want to see him just get back on the track and maybe by some miracle go into the Super Motocross season. But I also don't
yeah.
want him to come back too early and put himself out for 2024.
This season in outdoor. I don't know if you want to go ahead and move into talking about outdoor now, but dude, with how many
Yeah, let's
guys
go
are
ahead and do that. Yeah, go ahead.
okay, we got a lot of guys injured that are probably like there's a lot of guys. There's a handful, a solid list.
We had going into the Salt Lake, we had Ken Roxon, Chase Sexton, and Adam Cianciarulo. And then if you want to count Shane McElrath and Kyle Chisholm, I'm pretty sure they're I think I'm not sure if Shane McElrath and Kyle Chisholm count as factory riders. I think Shane does, but I don't think.
Yeah, because it's Suzuki.
I'll be generous because I'm not sure if like Kyle Chisholm he's riding a Suzuki, but I don't know if it's like I think he's running the Twisted T1, different sponsor. I don't know.
Add another one for good measure, just because.
Yeah. Okay. So we went into the season with I don't know how many factory riders, but
a lot. At least 3 per manufacturer.
We went to the last main event with 5.
Yeah.
Chase Sexton, Ken Roczen, Adam Cianciarulo, and the 2 Suzukis.
And this is the best of the best guys, supposed to be.
Like
insane.
I mean, let's just go off the top of our heads and name how many. Let's try to get just off the top of our heads 450s who all went down. We've got Malcolm Stewart, Marvin Musquin, Jason Anderson went down late. Barsha went down. Tomac, Cooper, Dylan Ferrandis. There's
Jason
somebody
Anderson.
else. I already got him.
Christian Craig.
Oh, Craig. That's 8.
Tomac, Webb.
Got them. That's 8. We can count Ken Roczen because he may miss because he went down technically on the last one, and that cost him 3rd overall. All he needed was 1 more point, and he would have got 3rd overall.
I'm thinking
so that's 9. That's 9. There's someone else we're missing.
What are all the manufacturers? We got KT.
Aaron Plessinger. He was out for 3 races, so that's 10.
Okay.
10 factory riders down. If you want to count Adam Cianciarulo, he was out for 3 races as well, so that's 11.
Yeah.
So 11 that I can think of. In 250s, we lost so many. We lost like 4 people from Kawasaki alone.
The whole Kawasaki lineup, pretty much.
Yep, we lost Nate Thrasher.
Yeah.
Which
lost. Arguably shouldn't have been riding in the first place, given that he had torn ACL. But that's
yeah. And then we lost Jalik Swole from Husqvarna. We lost.
Was Ryder DeFrancisco in there, or was he out before the season even started?
I don't even know who you just said. So he was not. So that's 7.
Yeah.
And there's somebody else. So okay, we're at 19.
Yeah, so it's a lot.
No, we're at 18 without even like pulling up the books and like looking at everything.
So, and how many of those guys going into this 450 season in outdoors are still not back? It's like 5 or 6, right?
Yeah. So the guys that are still the guys that are not confirmed to be able to line up for
at least the first race.
For the first race in motocross, not this weekend but next.
You got Malcolm, Craig,
Cooper.
Oh, really? Cooper. Okay.
Because it's a 5 to 6 week thing for his concussion. I mean, I don't think he'll be able to line up. So we got Malcolm, Eli, Cooper, Craig. Roxon's not going to be there, but like he's going to do World Supercross, so doesn't count.
Okay. What about Jason Anderson? Is he coming back?
I don't know. It's iffy. I haven't heard anything, so let's count him.
Ferrandis
should be there.
Okay.
He should. But Barsha, the word from his camp is he's going to, but buddy, you broke your collarbone 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. So
good luck.
This is basically your top 5 from last year is gone.
Yeah.
Okay. Besides Chase Sexton. Chase Sexton will be there. He's good.
And then there's who else? There's
coming into this season, dude, I think this might be one of the best opportunities that Jet Lawrence gets to win a championship.
At least this early in his career, because I think you give that dude 2 years, and then everyone else is in trouble. Because like I've said, that dude is the closest thing to, as far as like the way he can contort himself on the bike and his raw speed, and the control he has to James Stewart.
Dude, I think this is going to be him versus Chase Sexton this season.
It will.
Everybody else that's a substantial rider is going to a substantial factory rider is going to be out until later in the season. So
we might get Barsha for race 1.
Yeah. Now,
that's a big if.
Adam Cianciarulo is good on outdoor. I mean, all these
Yeah.
guys are really good on outdoor. They all rode outdoor for the most of their career because that's how they start out. So Adam Santarelli will be there. And then who else we got? Plessinger will be there.
Ferrandis will be there.
Ferrandis should be there, which he's
And
really good on outdoor too. So
yeah, he is an outdoor champion. So let's just talk about, like, with all the injuries we have,
just
who do you
factory
think is
guys.
actually a championship contender?
Chase Sexton. I think it's Chase Sexton all day. And
Let's just list all of them. Just to just show how thin the field is. Like Chase,
yeah,
my opinion is that the only three I can think of is Chase Sexton, and then maybe Jet. I think Jet will win. Can win races, but with him being full first time 450 outdoor, I think he'll definitely get podiums.
and with
Hopefully every weekend. I just don't know if he can challenge Chase right out the gate, and
yeah,
I think that may cost him in the championship. So
that could be true.
I'll say Jet just because, like, I think he's going to be the best of the rest. And then I
I
think
think
Dylan
he's gonna be a
Ferrand.
top 3 guy.
Yeah.
I bet
Of the three, I think he's third right now. I think he'll definitely prove me wrong though. But I
yeah,
think the three is Chase, Jet, and then Dylan Ferrandis, because Ferrandis is a former outdoor champion. He's a beast. If we had
yeah,
Marvin Musquin, I'd put him in there because Marvin is an outdoor beast as well.
yeah.
But I don't think we're going to have him, at least to my knowledge. If we do, we'll get him late. But I don't think he's going to line up Moto 1. And outside of that, I don't think we got anyone that can consistently
And then Plessinger and
challenge.
Cincinnati are your wild cards. You know, like
Yeah,
they
I
could
mean,
come in there.
I think those are guys that will get podiums and have an outside shot at winning a moto. But
I think
I'm not even
be,
sure if Plessinger and AC can win a weekend.
yeah,
Win
I
an
think
overall.
they might be in there competing sort of with Jet for that third, fourth spot kind of thing. I think there's going to be a really tough battle in there, and Chase might very well be able to walk away with this thing. It'll be interesting to see how things play out at the end of the season whenever some of these guys start coming back in. Obviously, they won't be in championship contention, but they might start kind of, messing things up a little bit. Kind of how in here.
But what will be interesting is, like, okay, when we get to the back half of the season, there could be a chance of the championship kind of already, like, Chase Sexton having a big gap, or it just be only down to two guys. And I don't know. We could be in that situation, which would suck. I'd love to see it go all the way between two or three guys. It'd be great. That's a lot to ask for with the thinned out field. But at least what we do have to look forward to in the back half of the season, if it gets boring, is when people, like, I'm praying, Malcolm come back, Craig come back. Craig will come back at some point, in my opinion. I think he'll be ready by minimum by August.
He might be lining up for the first race. I know that's what he's shooting for. He might only miss a couple. I think he's going to be.
If he lines up Moto 1 at Paolo, that's going to be a miracle. But
maybe not Moto 1, but I think he's only going to miss a couple races. I don't think he's going to.
Which will be good. But, and then Cooper will come back at some point, I think. But what will be interesting is when you have those guys, especially with, like, Malcolm Stewart's position, them getting however high a position they can to give them a shot at making the LCQ for Super Motocross Championship. So that will be, if we run out of things to watch in the 450 main events, we just need to keep our eyes on people like Malcolm.
Yeah. Now 250, that's going to be sick.
Totally different story with 250s. I've never been more excited for it. Like, it's so funny because in Supercross, the 450s was where all the action was. We had a 3-way title fight, and the 250s was like, which Lawrence brother is winning this week? And that was a result of a thinned out field. So we've literally got the opposite now. Like, the 450s is the thinned out field that the championship will probably not be a nail biter.
Yeah.
But the 250s looks electric because you've got.
Oh, it's gonna be so fun.
Look at the title contenders. You've got Hunter Lawrence most likely. You've got Justin Cooper coming down because Justin Cooper raced 5 450 main events this year on a limited contract for whatever reason, and then they took him off of that so that
he did pretty good though too.
Oh, he did great. He did great. He did great for his first 5 races at 4. It was fantastic.
So he's coming back for 250 outdoor.
They literally they took him off and only wanted him to do a limited run of races just so they could bring him back to have someone to win the 250 outdoor title. That's
gonna be badass.
It's the only reason Yamaha didn't run him the full season, along with the fact that, like, it'd be a third bike. But the only reason they only brain him for those 5. They wanted to bring him back down for one more time in the outdoor season to have someone that could win the title.
Yeah, because the only guy they got competing for a championship right now is the rookie. Like, I
Hayden.
mean,
Yeah. So to go through all the contenders,
yeah,
you've
he's been
got
good, but
you've got Hunter, you've got Hayden Deegan, maybe. I think he'll be there for possibility of wins, maybe. You've got RJ Hampshire. You've got definitely Justin Cooper is a contender.
yep,
My dark horse to compete for for top fives and wins and maybe the championship is Tom Vial, because that guy's a 2-time MXGP2 champion
dude,
over
and
in
Max
Europe.
Anstey too.
Anstey, that's another guy that's going to be in the mix.
Dude, he might be.
Um, I
Oh my
think
God, so good.
I think Jordan Smith could compete if McAdoo's healthy, which I don't know if he is. That could be a guy. Shimoda is going to be a guy.
Dude, it is
Um,
stacked.
it's
It's
stacked,
stacked.
dude. And on top of that, like, you've got some other guys that are, I mean, heck, maybe we get Jalik Swoll back.
Yeah,
That would be big, because Jalik Swoll's one of those guys. He's like a Shimoda. He's really fast, but he's learning how to put it together. So we could get Jalik back, because he missed the majority. Well, he missed literally all of the Supercross season because of a spiral fracture in his shoulder.
yeah.
So I think we've got so many players in that 250 class. I think we're gonna be like on our like biting our nails watching the 250s, and then when the 450s come on, we can be like, okay, it's time to watch Chase throw in some heaters.
Yeah,
And
it's gonna be
let's
nap
put,
time now.
let's put some steaks on the grill. And
Yeah,
I don't know, but I'm so excited for 250s. I think that's what's going to
dude,
carry the outdoor season.
wait. I cannot wait. It's gonna be good.
So
It's
who is your pick to win? Like, if you just had to just right now throw a dart on the wall, who's your pick to win the outdoor title?
in 250 or 450.
250. The only one that there's a debate currently.
I'm gonna go purely based on the storyline I would like to see, which is gonna be Hayden Deegan. I would love to see that. That would be so sick. I
Bro,
would love to see.
that would be insane.
It would be incredible. Incredible. And
We really haven't even
honestly,
talk about that kid enough. I mean, did he get? Yeah, he got second overall in his class in
second in the
250s.
points, dude. And he got the
Insane.
rookie of the year. He was had the most points out of all the Yamaha guys on both coasts.
Yep. It's
I mean, he
props to that
kind of
kid.
was, besides not winning the championship and obviously not having any wins and any race wins besides heats, he was kind of like the Chase Sexton of the 250s, because he was just there the whole time. Like,
Mhm.
not doing anything. Oh, well, it's kind of hard. Actually, maybe he wasn't.
He didn't have the mistakes. I would say he was more like a
Yeah,
Cooper Webb. He was kind of like a Cooper Webb, like a threat to win. He's going to give the guys in the top a run for their money,
yeah,
but he's just going to keep racking up points by getting top
yeah.
fives.
Because what was Cooper Webb there? Like two wins this season,
Yeah.
and he was right there, closest in the points to Eli Tomac all the way up until the end.
And not to hit on Cooper Webb, but if Chase Sexton didn't have an idiot lap rider in front of him in Dallas that I saw in person, like just literally just like completely block him for a whole 5 seconds after a crash,
Yeah, yeah, I remember that.
Cooper would only have one win.
Probably
So
so. So yeah, I mean, he was just there. Like Deegan just didn't make any mistakes. He finished every single lap, and he just rode,
yeah,
and
I mean,
like
dude,
he did.
I remember when I was at the Houston race this season, when I heard we found out like a week before that Hayden was actually going to race Supercross and not just do
Yeah,
futures, right? Because he raced futures at Anaheim too.
right.
And we were thought, oh, we're just going to see Hayden do futures this year, and then we'll see him in outdoors maybe. And then we
Yeah,
find out the week before Houston, he's doing 250s in Supercross. I'm like, whoa, this is going to be crazy. Like, I remember going to Houston, like, man, what if this kid gets a top 10? And then he
dude,
gets fourth overall in his first win. He
yeah,
wins the heat race in Tampa the week later, and we're just like, oh my, this kid is just taking the thing. You want to talk about a prodigy, and you want to talk about having all of like the pressure of being famous and having your viral YouTube channel and also stuff, like having the family name. Like, he's taking all that pressure and he's just like, I'm good.
yeah,
Fine by me. I'm just gonna keep being awesome.
yeah.
So props to that kid, just kept delivering, dude. I hope he's a threat. My pick for 250s, It's tough. I'm between
I know who you're gonna pick.
I'll put it this way. My brain wants to pick between Justin Cooper and Hunter Lawrence. My heart wants RJ to go out there and just be a menace and
Yeah,
shake it up and push for a title. Mainly because like Rockstar Husqvarna like needs something right now. I mean, you couldn't
yeah.
even field a 450 rider for the last like 5 or 6 main events. I'm sorry, five or six races of the season. Like their sponsors have got to be ticked, dude. They need something to go their way. I wonder if they're gonna bring in somebody for 450s to fill in the gap until they get both their guys back, or, or even if you only get one of them back. I don't know. But I, let me just stick with my brain predictions. If I'm a betting man between Justin Cooper and Hunter Lawrence, I wouldn't want to bet, but with how good that Honda
What
bike
kind of betting
was,
man are you? Are
with,
you
with
are you an
huh?
intelligent betting man or are you a degenerate betting man?
It depends. I mean, flip a coin, dude. I don't know.
Okay.
Uh, I feel like for every good prediction I make, there's like 3 ones that just get crumbled. So, um, but uh, I would, with how good that Honda 250 CRF was running, um, I would have to pick Hunter Lawrence
It
for
makes sense.
now.
It
But
makes sense.
I think Justin Cooper is going to be an absolute threat. Watch out for that dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd love to see Tom Bial be a threat as well, but that's less likely. But I think he'll
Yeah.
definitely run top 5.
Man, dude.
And then my last question in regards to outdoors previews: who is your outside pick? I mean, I think we both know who we want it to be. Who is your outside pick to win their first main event for 450s? I mean, for me, it's Plessinger. You know,
Mm, that's a really good choice. That's a really good choice. I'm
you
gonna
can
go.
double down. You can double down if you want to.
No, no, I'll take a different one. I'll take a different one. I'm gonna go Christian Craig.
Oh, that would be insane.
I would love to see him get a win. Cause dude, he's got it. Like the guy's good, you know?
If he can get that bike floating over the whoops like he was last year with that Yamaha, like
Yeah.
because that's Craig's signature thing. Is like he absolutely demolishes the whoops.
He's a whoops guy and he's so
Like
smooth, man.
which
Like,
is funny because like so is Malcolm because he's a Stewart.
right.
So that and the funniest thing is both those dudes are like they've made their money by being amazing at blitzing the whoops, but they're on bikes that make it tough to. Now, not as bad as the KTM, and especially this year, they really worked out the kinks with it before they both, you know, completely wrecked themselves with the bike.
Right.
But it was going a lot better in the whoops than it did last season. But it's just
Yeah.
funny. It's like, okay, you know, your main thing is like your not main thing, but one of your best qualities is how amazing you can attack the whoops when you're in a bike that sometimes hinders it. But
Yeah. Yeah.
but
So
luckily in outdoors, there's no whoops for the most part. So
this is true.
you got sand whoops, but those are spread out in a different kind of obstacle. But
Totally different thing. Yeah. And, Christian Craig is really good. And it's similar to the Deegan situation. I just love the story there. It's a great story.
and a really
The
good
way,
dude, really
yeah,
good dude.
great guy. He's got the family thing going on. And
Big comeback from the back injury. Like
100%, man.
yeah,
That's crazy.
that
And
that that dude's career should have been over.
yeah. And then he comes back, wins a championship in 250, moves up to 450, does pretty well in his outdoor season last year. Not great this year. Not as good as people expected him to be. And I think he expected himself to be better than how he did. A lot of pressure in that, but it is a new bike, yada yada yada. Gets injured, comes back into outdoor and gets a win, dude.
Bro,
All about
if he gets a podium, that would be enough for like someone from Husqvarna to go and give him a freaking kiss on the cheek, dude.
it.
Like because
Yeah. And
they need something.
again, similar to the Jet situation, this is a great season for him because he should be able to get back riding before a lot of other guys are able to. And so the field won't be quite as intense as a normal season, or maybe like the beginning of last season was with everybody healthy going in. So Yeah, man. I'm excited. I think it's gonna be
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm hoping it's a good outdoor season.
Yeah.
I'm knocking on wood here. I'm pretty dead certain the 250s is going to be entertaining for sure. But if we can get some spice in the 450s, that will make it a great outdoor season.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, the last thing I want to cover before we take off is, we actually haven't talked about this too much. We got Triumph entering a team in 2024, so new manufacturer. This kind of just put in my head where it's going to be the only American manufacturer to provide a bike. You know,
Hell
that's
yeah.
gonna be cool.
Yeah.
Ricky Carmichael has been testing the bike along with something like De La Salle or something. I forget the name.
I saw that.
Um,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
and what I've heard so far, the only thing I mean, what I've heard is that no one has been hearing much about the actual bike or even like seen much of it. But the other flip side of that is the little bit that I have heard from my sources is that it rides more like an Austrian bike. Like apparently it's supposed to ride very similar to a KTM.
I've heard that it's very good. People like it. The word on the street is it's it's a competitive bike. And I'm really excited about this because prior to this knowledge happening, this information coming out, I was really thinking like, man, it's kind of crazy how sort of, Japan has a clinch on this sport.
Mhm.
Like besides, KTM came in, started doing their thing, but before, when did Husqvarna and Gas was like in the last like 3 or 4 years, something like that. And then Husqvarna was, within the last 10 or something. But prior to that, KTM, they were like the only guys besides all the Japanese manufacturers that were out there. It's kind of crazy that this hasn't happened earlier.
Well, I
You
will
know?
say even for the relatively like thin field for until the last 10 years came about. I mean, you look at what they've accomplished. You got 2 championships with Cooper Webb. You've got a championship with Jason Anderson with Husqvarna. Um, there's somebody else who's won. Hey, Ryan Dungey on the KTM won 4.
Yep.
So plenty of success for
It's been very
the
successful.
Austrian group.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's going to be interesting. What I do hope is that okay, maybe use KTM's engine and frame, but let's use somebody else's forks and suspension.
Right. Well,
um,
what do they go with too? I mean, maybe it's not what's on everybody's mind, but I'm thinking about it. Most of
yeah.
the rainbow's already wrapped up in all the other manufacturers right now.
And I'm wondering how much of like that bike they are going to outsource. Like I'm wondering, are they using like a KT or like because like I think KTM and Husqvarna and Gas all share a similar frame. I think.
From Yeah, from what I've
Um,
heard, they're building everything in house.
okay, interesting.
That's what I heard. I don't know.
Which I like to hear because like you don't want it to be like how Formula One has been the last I don't know how many years where like oh
Yeah,
we've got a new team but it's literally just they bought out an existing team and even use their same factories and just slap a new logo on it.
right.
Um, and it
Which
take
it's a tough thing to build a Formula One team, so it makes sense they would do that. But
oh I mean you're looking at a $200 million entry fee so yeah I totally
yeah,
get it.
yeah,
So the main thing is if that's true and they're really building everything from the ground up, then okay, good. Because then you're not tied to anyone's like, okay, if you're with the Austrian group, like they want to run as many riders as they can through Alden Baker's practice facility as they can.
right.
You've got to use certain parts and OEM distribute all that crap. So if you control your own destiny with that, that's good. Um, that being said, if you're making all your own stuff in your brand new team, let's hope they don't have any mechanical issues. They probably will. It's a brand new team.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's just hope the tires stay on
right.
minimum. But I will say they do have at least some experience in regards to dirt motorsports with bikes. I mean, I think they still run flat track, but they've had a long history of racing flat track dirt bikes and winning with flat track dirt bikes. So it's not like they make like with Haas where they make like machine mills and stuff like that, and all of a sudden they make a Formula One car out of nowhere. Um,
which
Now,
we
granted, they ran NASCAR, but that's not even open wheel.
yeah.
So at least they have some kind of history of how to develop a racing team for that. So it'll
Yeah.
be interesting to see. Have you heard any other information in regards to their development, or maybe a timeline of when we're going to see the bike, or do we know? My guess is not, from the secrecy I've seen.
Yeah, I had heard they were supposed to be revealing the bike at one of the races, but they didn't. And then there's a video out there of that guy you were talking about a minute ago, DeVille something.
De La Salle, I don't know,
Yeah, he
something
was
foreign.
riding the bike, and they got some Android phone footage of
Oh
that.
yeah, the one that
Doesn't
looks
look
like it
like
was shot with a microwave. Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't look like anything significant that you can tell is going on. So it's a guy riding a dirt bike basically at the end of the day. And then there's you can't like see how it stacks up against another bike or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, they obviously have a great team. Ricky Carmichael is part of this thing. And then yeah, I heard that they have got they're doing everything in-house. Again, who knows what that means? They could say we're doing everything in-house, and they went, like you're saying, they got all their stuff from KTM and they're just assembling it there. It could be,
Well,
whatever.
last question on it, because this just kind of hit me. We technically, with their addition, we get 2 more factory seats for the 450 class. I don't know if they're just racing 450 or if they're going to do 450 and 250. But
They're just doing 250 first, and they're bringing in 450 the next season.
Oh, so they're just doing 250 first.
It's only 250 next year. Yeah.
Kind of smart. So
that makes a lot of sense.
So that kind of narrows it down.
So that might be 4 guys, 2 in each coast.
Or they may just do 1 in each coast. I don't know. We'll see. I'd love to see 4, but so with that being said, who do you think they bring? With going back to silly season here, who do you think they bring in? I've seen like certain reports saying that maybe someone like Jalik Swoll would be available, because you think about his last couple years with Husqvarna, it's been plagued by injuries and inconsistency, but the talent's there. So maybe they give him like a multi-year deal, give him that job security, and just let him, hey, like we're with you. You're our guy. You're our premier 250 rider.
Yeah,
go for it. Do you think Jalik Swoll will be a good guy to bring in? Do you think there's anyone else in play for a 250 seat?
I don't remember who it is, but there's somebody who's part of the Triumph team that used to be part of the Husqvarna team. And so there is a good bit of talk going on that some of the Husqvarna riders that are going to have their contracts up will go over there. I know RJ Hampshire was someone that they were talking about. He obviously has an extension now, so not him. He would have been a great option.
Also, why would you leave a team that's got a championship winning bike to go to a brand new one? No point in that.
Yeah, this is a big risk for the riders to take on something like this and go, to hop off of a bike that's got, at least that it runs, right?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to, not to say that this bike isn't going to run, but like, there's no evidence it makes it through a season. This is literally the first season. So I believe the setup they're going for is they want to have someone they want to have like a new rookie. They want to have a guy who has a couple seasons, has potential, and then they want an actual championship contender. And they want kind of this like setup of guys that are in different parts of their site of life, sort of like racing life cycle, if that makes sense. Now I believe like there was, like I was saying, this thing with Husqvarna, like Talon Hawkins was a potential.
Yeah, that'd be a good rookie talent to bring in.
Yeah,
You can even look in the outside looking in. I honestly, dude, this is no shade on Talon Hawkins, but I think there may be a possibility that in regards to who they brought up from futures to replace Jalik Swoll, they may have picked the wrong guy. I think Casey Cochran, the guy who just won the futures, that dude is really, really good.
He's solid. Yeah.
And he's way better in the whoops than Talon Hawkins. Like there was multiple races where I was like, did Talon Hawkins like miss whoop day?
Yeah.
Like,
and like,
what's going on?
You don't know till you know.
Yeah,
You know?
and I could be completely wrong. Maybe when we see Casey Cochran out there, he struggles the same in the whoops. I don't know. All I'm
Sure.
saying is Talon Hawkins really struggled in the whoops, and for a factory guy, I found him. And now, granted, he got thrown in halfway through the season. I get it. Or I'm sorry, he got thrown in last minute. I get it. I get it. You know, you're a rookie, you're figuring it out. But I think a guy on the outside looking in to immediately get a 250 seat could be Casey Cochran or Talon Hawkins as well. I think I
We
think
could
I
see,
think one of those three guys in Husqvarna between Jalik Swole to be a guy that could be a championship contender, and be like your bell cow for points. You could have Casey Cochran or Talon Hawkins as like your rookie. The only other guy I could see them poaching from another team to be a championship contender just because of how crowded their 250 team is. If not Shimoda, because Shimoda seems like it seems like it's a done deal. Shimoda goes to Honda, but that could be a guy. But I think he's going to Honda. But if not him, maybe they go and poach Jeremy Martin if they throw a lot of money at him from Yamaha, because
I
that's a
was
dude
gonna
that's been
say,
sitting. Yeah, that's a dude that's been sitting with Yamaha for the last 2 seasons trying to get a Supercross title. He's a
yeah,
2-time outdoor champion, I believe. Yeah, 2-time outdoor champion, veteran in the sport, just trying to get to the next level, dude.
yeah,
And maybe he just needs a fresh start, even if it means it sets him back another year. You now got a youngster in Hayden Deegan in your class. You've got Jordan Smith, you got Nate Thrasher, and then there's you. And last time I checked, I think he finished behind those 3 dudes. I could be
well,
wrong.
he's
Well, maybe not
technically
maybe not Nate Thrasher, but Nate Thrasher was the best of those 4 dudes. So
yeah, he's technically a privateer as well because Club is not getting the full support from Yamaha like Star Racing is. So for him, this would really be kind of a move up. You
you're
know,
100% right. Yeah.
he's not leaving one factory team for another. He's technically going, I would say, like, you know, you could call it like privateer plus. He's going from like privateer plus to factory is what I'd say it is.
Yeah. It's like he's still going to, he was still in an RV, but he's just going to a bigger RV.
Right. It's a bigger RV. It's got more parts available, ready to go.
Yeah.
Um,
Shorter lead times for replacements, stuff like
yeah, it's a little nicer. It's got the heated floors and stuff.
And heck, now everything's being shipped in from the States. So,
Yeah. I mean, that's not much shipping at all, if you ask
you,
me.
you,
That's like
you need a new set of forks, Amazon Prime, baby, and the next day.
100%.
You ain't got to wait a whole year and a half to get new forks like Cooper Webb
No,
did.
no.
So,
I mean, they're hopping to skip away. I think most, well, and like, yeah, that's another thing that, you don't get this on a privateer team, but they've got the whole thing sitting there in the shop. They just go build whatever they want whenever they need it. So,
yeah,
yeah.
the only other guy I think they could take is maybe Bennett, or I think it's Bennett, the guy that was the front runner in Futures on the
Yeah.
Yamaha.
Yeah.
That kid's very good. That kid, I think other like him and Casey Cochran, I think are the 2 front runners
Yeah.
to get promoted from Futures.
Their toughest spot, though, to fill is definitely going to be that experienced potential championship winning guy. Because, again, it's such a big risk for somebody to go to a team like that.
Mm.
And, yeah, I think you're on some the Jerry Martin thing because he's one that I think he's got the potential for it. And he wouldn't be leaving a factory team,
Yeah.
technically speaking, to go there. So
I think the difficulties with both is, well, not for one side, not difficulties, but with Jalik Swole, you can throw a multi-year deal on him because his contract is going to be up with Husqvarna this year, and he ain't got much on the table. I mean, maybe he gets back in time for race 1 at Outdoors. I think he will because it was but it's not just, but it was only an arm fracture. So I think he should be good to go for Outdoors. I think. Let's hope. Maybe he sets off and like has an amazing outdoor season and gets another 1-year deal with Husqvarna. But I think he'll be looking at the best of 1-year deal with Husqvarna, and then if Triumph Smart, they won't have to pay too much for him, but they can throw a 2-year contract at him and he'll sign that because he'll want the job security because he knows he's on the fence with Husqvarna because of just the inconsistencies and the injuries. With Jeremy Martin, however, with him being a 2-time champ and like he's he's going to be impatient. Like if the bike's not performing year one, he's going to jump ship, in my opinion. So I think the best thing you're going to get with Jimmy Martin is you're going to get him for 1 year, and you're going to have to open the checkbook for him, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but
and
I think for them, it's blank check season. If Jeremy Martin's at the table.
Well, and for Jeremy Martin, he might be looking at this going, this could be his route to the 450 class too, because then they're going to be coming out with that bike
the next year. Yeah,
fill those spots as well. So who knows, man? I think it's gonna be very interesting though, and I'm really happy to see that there's other people getting involved, and it's gonna give options for like eventually they're gonna have these things out there ready to sell to the public. This isn't just
it's been great.
Racing. So that'll be awesome. And then, dude, getting an American-made bike where you can go out, ride it, get parts for cheaper because they're gonna be here. Obviously, everybody else in the world it'll be more expensive. But it's a small price to pay.
Hey, look, all I'm saying is you heard it here first. John Deere is going to enter in 2027 as a 250 manufacturer.
Dude, that would be badass, man. That would be badass.
All of a sudden, all the NASCAR fans start flocking.
Yeah. Dude, imagine John Deere makes a move like Lamborghini did where they started making cars instead of track. Well, not instead of, but as well as John Deere starts making like muscle cars. Dude.
They're going to call it the zero-turn dirt bike. The whole front wheel is going to be able to flip around.
Yeah, no, a zero turn. That's the NASCAR car right there. Or one turn.
Oh my gosh! But that'd be hilarious. But my guess is in the next 5-10 years, we're going to see another USA manufacturer join.
Assuming this goes well.
Yeah, if it goes down the tubes, I mean, heck. But
yeah, it might be 50 years until we get somebody else coming in.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up this episode. Next time we'll talk about Supercross is after first round. So 2 weeks, dude. In 2 weeks, we're going to have, in my opinion, like the best weekend of motorsports. We're going to have first weekend of motocross on Saturday, right? We're going to have Monaco qualifying for Formula One on Saturday. Then we get to Sunday, and we're going to have Monaco in the morning for Formula One, the actual race. We get the Indy 500 in the afternoon. And then in case you need something to nap to, you can put on the Coca-Cola 600 for NASCAR.
Oh my gosh.
Like I'm just going to I'm going to buy some ribs. I'm going to throw them on the smoker. I'm going to have the TV on the whole time. And I'm going to put my butt in a recliner when I'm not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm turning my phone off. I'm gonna tell my family I'll see them in 2 days, and I'm just tuning in, dude. I'll probably get a workout in and throw it on the TV in the garage too while I'm doing that. That'll be the only time I move.
That's gonna be a great weekend. My wife's gonna be pissed.
I'm gonna have to call my fiance and be like, hey, look, just don't come down this weekend. No need.
Yeah. We got. There's
I'm
plans.
sick.
There's plans. Yeah. That's hilarious.
Yeah. All right, man. That'll wrap up this episode. Time to sign off. See you later.
Adios.